This is going to be a comparison between first and second generation QD OLED. We have 2000 nits on the S95C and 1500 nits on the S90C. Now, that's not the brightness that you get out of the box. I show you already how I went into the service menu with my S95C and all the settings I had to use to get as much brightness as possible while keeping it fairly accurate. Okay, so it doesn't look like blowing out and washed out colors. And I will also show you how to do that on the S90C first generation QD OLED. But the purpose of this video is for those of you who already have an S95B or C that is first generation, and you're maybe thinking, oh, should I upgrade? Am I missing out? Is that brightness increase really going to make a big difference? Or maybe you're thinking and doing the mod and you're on the fence, oh, should I risk it? Should I risk getting burning? Okay, or avoiding the warranty? Is that worth it? Okay, and the purpose of this video is to show you that the difference is there. You can definitely see it, but it is very hard. Even having them side by side, it is very, very difficult to tell them apart. Now, of course, we're not going to talk about size, okay? Size is very important, I know. But there are other things that are also important. And of course, we are not going to talk about money either, okay? So no money, no size, and yeah, we lost her already. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn off the lights so I can also adjust the camera settings, because otherwise it's just going to look blown out. Okay, so let me tell you that the biggest difference between second generation and first generation QD OLED, even when you go into the service menu to get more brightness, is the full screen brightness. And I can clearly see that difference if I have a full white screen, okay? But in real content, even when we have here a very high APL, and actually the max CLL of this content is 2000 nits, I don't see clipping here on the S90C, and the difference on the overall brightness is almost none. Okay, almost none. And we're talking about more than 300 nits full screen for the S95C versus like a little bit over 200 on the S90C. And I cannot tell the difference at all here. The colors look exactly the same with the settings. I'll share all the settings and all the calibration of the S90C in a future video. So yeah, no difference whatsoever in this scene, even when it is actually, it doesn't get any more exaggerated than this. This is like max out, full blast HDR BT 2020 colors, okay? And you cannot tell the difference at all in any of the TVs. So then let me show you this one. Again, if I look at the highlights here on the S95C, they are brighter, for sure. They are brighter, no question about that. This is brighter. Let me increase the shutter speed. So maybe my camera can show you that difference. If I increase the shutter speed dramatically, you can see that the S95C at the top is brighter on those highlights, for sure. You can see it here. Here, this is brighter. No question about that. But yes, it's not it's not a huge difference at all. Let's take a look at some more natural pictures now, more like real content. So let's see this one. I'll show you all those gaming pictures too. But let's take a look at this one. This is where you could, really see the difference because we have white snow. Okay? So let me increase the shutter speed a lot. So if I do that, yeah, the S95C is brighter here. And if I use the Lux Light Meter app, I can definitely see a higher number on the S95C for sure. And with my naked eye, I can also see the difference. Especially here, if I look at this white over here and here, yes, it looks even more detailed on the S95C just because it is brighter. But I was expecting a huge difference, not such a close battle here. Now, my initial impressions, I show you this flower here, and I was like, this was like the first example that I tried, and I couldn't believe. I thought, man, this S90C is looking more saturated with the same settings, and I couldn't figure it out. And basically, the S90C with warm 1 looks more similar to the S95C with warm 2. That made all the difference in the world. Of course, I have a lot more settings that I changed on the S90C. But that was the main difference on the white balance. So if I show you more human faces, you will see now that they are exactly the same. Let's take a look at this one. They are like, paper copy. Let's go here. Okay, let me pause the video because I'm struggling here. Okay, so this picture here is very difficult to get it looking right because we have this yellow background and this lady has like a lot of makeup or something. She looks kind of red. But as you can see here, they look exactly the same. So that doesn't mean this is like reference accurate, but yeah, I like that they look the same because for me that means that it doesn't have to be, it's not going to be necessarily very far from accurate, if they are both so similar. So yeah, this is looking very good. Let's take a look at these other examples with human faces. And this is what I use to see the difference on the white balance because the skin tones are very, they obviously show you when, you have too much green or too much red, especially the green. You can definitely see some green looking faces if you have a messed up white balance. Check the settings here. Yeah, so as you can see there, they look identical, like no difference whatsoever. So yeah, let's see with gaming. Let's see if we can see a difference on brightness when we have some gaming examples here. Let me pause the video so I can find this. Now with this game, for example, this is Red Dead 1. I thought this game had black level race because at the very beginning of the game, you don't have perfect blacks and everything was looking kind of washed out. And on my LGC1 especially, if I see black level race even just a little bit, it is so bothersome to me. I have to crush the blacks. Even if I have to be changing settings on the fly. For example, this game has perfect blacks, but on that very beginning, I don't have perfect blacks, so I'm just gonna have reshade ready and just click so I can crush that because the screen uniformity, it seems, makes a huge difference When you have terrible screen uniformity, near black, I mean, my C1 is not terrible, but it's a WRGB OLED. It's not as good as these QD OLEDs. It is a lot more annoying to have raised blacks. Now with this S90C, it is first generation, but so you might think, oh, I didn't win the lottery. I wanted to have a second generation QD OLED. And maybe I could get a second generation that's this good, but not better. Okay, so if I order a replacement, there is no way I can get better screen uniformity on this S90C because it's near perfect. So I am enjoying the screen uniformity of this TV so much. Basically, everything on this TV looks amazing. Everything, all the time, because the screen uniformity is flawless. So even if the game has black level rays or looks too bright near black or doesn't have perfect blacks anywhere, it's okay, because when everything is gray, it's so uniform that looks beautiful. It just looks beautiful all the time. So the S95C, on the other hand, it is second generation QD OLED, but near black, it has some issues with uniformity. And I do not have the same feeling with the S95C. So that's why I'm saying brightness is not everything, okay? There are other aspects with picture quality. Of course, size, screen uniformity, but well, color saturation and vibrancy is just gonna be exactly the same with these QD OLEDs, or very, very similar. I don't see any difference whatsoever, especially when they are using fairly accurate settings. So yeah, definitely something that I am enjoying a lot with this S90C, to the point where, I'm struggling to see the difference here with these gaming examples. And yeah, it's not worth sacrificing what I have already, and I know it is so good, just to see if I can get second generation, because I might get a worse panel. So let me show you this example. This is one of the most interesting ones. Now in this example, I've been trying everything I can on the S95C to see if I can match this S90C, because there is a difference in the tone mapping, and the S90C is showing me this bird right here better, and this is 1250. Let me see if I remember the brightness of this scene. The max CLL is 1250. See my keyboard. Okay, here it is. 1250. So 1250 nits. So right now the S95C is not going to be clipping up to 2000 nits with the settings I'm using. And the S90C is not going to be clipping until 1500 nits. So they should not be clipping at all. And I can see the bird here on the S95C. I can see it, but it is not well defined. It is like dynamic tone mapping, where it looks kind of washed out, kind of blown out. But here on the S90C, I can see that bird so much better. And I don't understand why. It's not the color yellow clipping either. The color yellow is not clipping at all. It is so close to the clipping point of the white on both TVs. So yeah, and I went to the service menu and changed the EOTF tracking. It's still the same. I cannot figure out why the S90C is showing me this detail here. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that to see if I can actually see more highlight details on the S90C, and try to understand why, to see if I can replicate the same thing with the S95C. But yeah, when it comes to brightness right now in this scene, I don't see any difference whatsoever. They look exactly the same. So let me change the camera settings again. Now, I've been playing Jedi Survivor, and this game looks absolutely ferocious on HDR. The colors are incredible. And of course, I'm pushing more brightness with reshade to get the full potential of these TVs. And it just looks absolutely amazing. Not only at the beginning of the game, but all the time, because you have this lightsaber and a lot of particle effects that are very small but very bright all the time. It's amazing for HDR. But can you tell the difference? Right now, yes, this looks brighter. These particles look a little bit brighter on the S95C. But yeah, and this also looks brighter. I can see the difference on the S95C, and they look. This is clipping a little bit. I think this picture is going. Yeah, this picture is like 2100 nits actually. This was me pushing the brightness, and I did it too much. Then I adjusted the settings later. So they are both clipping a little bit. Not a big deal. Of course I fixed that later. But it's when it comes to the color saturation, near black detail, it's almost the same. Almost the same. So yeah, let me increase the shutter speed here. So you can maybe see more the difference on the highlights. So yeah. Now check this out. Actually, when I compared this picture, this was looking super bright to me. And when I used the Lux Light Meter app, this was reading a little bit higher than the S95C. And I don't know why. The max CLL here is 2000 nits, so they should be both max out. But yeah, for some reason here, I was getting a little bit more brightness, but in person they look almost the same. So I thought, oh, this looks brighter because it's just a bigger screen size. But yeah, they just look identical. They look identical in almost every example. Let's take a look at this bird here. Okay, let me find the bird. And this one, identical, like no difference whatsoever. So yeah. Now here you can see this detail here is looking blown out, but I adjusted the camera settings so this looks right, and they both look exactly the same, equally as bright. So yeah, you cannot tell the difference either. So if I increase the ISO here, lower the ISO and increase the shutter speed, that's where you can see the difference. The S95C here is brighter than the S90C, and it is noticeable. It is noticeable if I look for it. And of course I have them side by side. It is noticeable, and it is a lot nicer on the S95C, but I really have to look for it. It's so hard to see those differences. This example, they look almost identical, but I can definitely see that this highlight is a little bit brighter on the S95C. If I increase the shutter speed a lot, yeah, that's not even showing on the video at all. Those highlights are looking the same. Yeah, not even on the video I can see the difference. Yeah, the thing is with these scenes that are very dark and you just have some highlights on the darkness, it becomes even more difficult to see the differences. But yeah, I can definitely see that the S95C here is brighter. All these highlights are brighter. Let me show you, maybe changing the camera settings, it's so hard to tell. Not even on camera. You see, cameras are very good in showing you the difference in brightness. Sometimes it's a lot easier to see that it is brighter on camera than in person. Because on camera you can see that one is maybe clipping before the other. But yeah, not even that you can see here. It is so close. Now here near black, if we are on a very dark scene, let me adjust the camera. Now here on this one, very dark scene, can I see the defect of the S95C that I can see on full screen colors, full screen gray colors? I don't see it. So there's a vertical band here on the S95C. When I test the grayscale, full screen pictures of the grayscale, in real content it's very hard to see that. But even when I don't see the defect on the S95C with most of the real content, when I am using now this S90C, it might be a placebo effect, or it might be the bigger screen size, but I am getting a feeling that I am looking through a window or a door, because everything looks so consistent. The brightness is so consistent across the entire screen. And I do get that feeling with the S95C when things get very bright. But especially when you have black level rays on these games, and of course I fixed that, it is so tolerable for me. And I never experienced that before, because as soon as I see black level rays, it was like, oh, this looks absolutely horrible. With this S90C, because it is so uniform, and again, this has nothing to do with the model. This is just the panel lottery. It doesn't matter which Samsung TV you have. Although they might be improving it over time, or maybe the first generation QD OLEDs were more uniform. I don't know, because I don't have a bigger sample size to say that. But the thing is, I was lucky. This S90C is very uniform, and it might be placebo, but it is giving me a feeling that everything looks perfect. Everything looks awesome. And it doesn't have to, I don't need the highlights, I don't need anything. Even if it's just something washed out, it just looks so awesome because it's so uniform. It's just really, really amazing. So that's why there's no way I'm returning that S90C. So here in this picture, we can see and focus on the white balance. Only exclusively on the white balance. Let's ignore for a moment what's in the middle of the screen. There's nothing here. Let's just take a look at the white balance. And they are so close, and it is interesting that warm 2 on the S95C looks similar to warm 1 on the S90C. And I don't know if it is because it's first generation QD OLED versus second generation, or it's just the calibration of the S90C versus the S95C. But that is very weird, because I don't know why they would do that, or maybe it is just a panel to panel variant thing that, yeah, you might get a different white balance. But yeah, that's very, very strange. But yeah, you can definitely see that with these settings I am using, the whites look almost identical. I don't see any difference really. Now here on this picture, which is not very bright at all, this is, let me see, 424 nits. But because it's very high APL, I can definitely notice here the S95C is significantly brighter. I can see that difference. It looks a lot better here, it looks a lot better. Definitely. I can see that difference. Of course, here. And yeah, there's something in the middle that just pulls you in with the highlights on the S95C. So let me give you some conclusions now. Okay, so let me give you the conclusions for this video. These QD OLEDs look absolutely amazing, no matter what. You don't have to go to the service menu and get more brightness. As you can see here, even when we have a 500 nits brightness difference for the highlights, and we have almost 100 nits difference full screen, it is hard to tell them apart when you are using accurate settings. Now, if you're going to use SDR and max out the brightness or use active tone mapping all the time, and you don't care about accuracy, you just want to full blast, then yeah, the difference is gonna be a lot more significant and you will see that difference all the time. But that's not going to give you the best picture quality. You see, I don't care about accuracy. I care about the TV looking the best. In my opinion, the TV looks the best when you have accurate settings. And if the content is not impressive, you change the content, especially if you're playing games on the PC. You can change the content. That is better, in my opinion. But it's your TV, enjoy it the way you like it. But if you are about accuracy and you're gonna use accurate settings, you're not gonna see the difference. So if you already have an S90B, S95B, or S90C, first generation QD OLED, and you're thinking, oh, should I upgrade? Wait. We need a lot more brightness for that to make a big difference, for that to be compelling. Or maybe not brightness, maybe 240 hertz. If you can get a 240 hertz TV from Samsung that has Game Motion Plus, that you can go from 60 FPS to 240 interpolated frames, and that works for every game, that would be awesome. That would be a reason to upgrade. Forget about brightness. So what I'm saying is that there are other factors when it comes to picture quality. And if you got your S90C now with this crazy deal, absolutely amazing, $1,000 for a 65-inch QD OLED, that's just crazy. So if you got your TV, you check it out, and it has great screen uniformity, you have no issues. So it is a good sample, it is a good panel. Don't gamble. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not going to gamble and order a replacement because it's gonna be worse. The screen uniformity is gonna be worse for sure because it cannot be better than this. This is flawless. So then it might be worse screen uniformity and it might still be first generation. So then I'm screwed. Of course, you can do it again and keep doing it. I don't like to do that. And of course, there's going to be a point where they're going to tell you, no, they're going to deny your thing. And I don't want a refund. I want the TV. No way. And I don't want a refund for the S95C either. Now, with the S95C, it is different. I might actually give them a call and try to negotiate something. Because my problem with the S95C is the audio. You see, I don't care about the audio. I have a AV receiver with 4 speakers on the PC. That's what I'm going to use. And yeah, but this S95C goes upstairs for the family. And they want to use the audio of the TV. I have a sound bar that has an additional remote. It didn't work with the Fire Stick, so you need another remote, and that's bothersome. Family just wants to use the audio from the TV, and the audio is broken. It is cracking, buzzing. The whole back of the TV is like prr, prr. It's terrible. So yeah, I need to give them a call and see what are my options, and it is worth risking it in that case because the uniformity is not perfect either. Now, the biggest thing that I'm risking is the One Connect box with the drops. I do not have any dropouts so far with the S95C and the One Connect box, and that might be a unicorn. So maybe I get another S95C, no problem with the audio, better screen uniformity, but now I'm getting drops. Even when I'm not going to use the TV for the PC, I don't want to have it, an S95C that's dropping the signal. So, but yeah, in that case, it might be worth gambling that, or maybe I think what I'm going to try to do is saying, hey, I know about all this stuff. I have a YouTube channel. From the feedback of my community, the S95C has this issue with the audio, and if you replace it, that's not gonna fix anything, and I might get drops with the One Connect box. So you know what? I figured that the S95C is not going to give me what I was looking for. But on the other hand, I'm not going to be happy with an S90D because a stock, out of the box, it is not as bright as the S95C. So I think I deserve a top tier, either the S95D or the S90D. I would be okay with it, but the bigger screen size. So basically tell them, hey, because I don't want the matte finish either. But if they replace the S95C with the S90D, I have to say yes, because it's a lot brighter panel. So it is a lot more expensive. So when it comes to value, I say yes to that one. So I would prefer this. I would prefer if they. So I tell them, hey, S90D is not as bright as the S95C. It's not a flagship, but if you give me the bigger screen size, if you give me the 65-inch, that will be okay if I replace it. So if I can negotiate that and use a little bit of the leverage from having the YouTube channel and saying, hey, I want the TV, I don't want a refund. So I'm gonna give them a call. So that's what I have on my mind right now. But returning the S95, the S90C, or replacing it, no way. This is awesome. And I don't care too much about the small brightness difference, because there are other things that this TV is doing incredibly well. Of course, first generation QD OLED, we know that it is maybe more fragile, more likely to burn-in, but yeah, I don't really care too much about that, honestly. My LG C1, after 3 years, has like 5,000 hours of usage, and I've used that TV a lot. So I mean, this is gonna last like 10 years. I don't think I'm gonna get burning at all the way I use the TV. No way. So I don't really care about that part. So yeah, this comparison has been very, eye-opening to me, because I was expecting 500 nits more. That's definitely gonna be noticeable all the time. The highlights are gonna be so much brighter, and especially the full screen brightness. I thought, man, this is gonna be like not even close. From 200 nits to 300 nits, that's gonna be huge. And it is if you have a full white screen. But for most content, very, very, very hard to tell. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.